Hi, I'm Bethany, and this is Disability Talk, where we offer you delicious disability morsels of information so that you don't have to be nosy and ask us weird questions of disabled people fabulous like us. Today I have Darcy. Did I say that right?
DRC, yeah.
DRC. Fabulous new friend of mine, and I'd love to hear your pronouns and audio description before we jump into the questions, and then I'll offer the same.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is DRC Charington Neal. I am 34. I am a dark-skinned Black man, and I'm currently sitting on my couch in a black and white polka dot button down with a black and white paisley tie and neon blue lipstick that I got from Fenty. Oh, and my pronouns are he, him, they, them.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Love the Fenty. Riri is a superhero. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a white femme with shoulder length brown hair. Today I have ridiculous red makeup on my face and obviously red lips. Behind me, I have two shelves, one on the top that has an amethyst and a sign that says a riot is the language of the unheard. And on the second shelf below that, I have Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, which is a graphic novel adaptation because this fabulous friend of mine is actually teaching it this term. So afrofuturism is really the vibe we need to be in the pandemic, thinking forward. And then also I have other things hanging behind me, necklaces, a Led Zeppelin flag, and of course, as always, my condom bag, because sexual health is very important to me. So let's get into the questions. Number
Sure.
one for you, my dear, how does your disability or disability in general relate to your passion in life?
So it's funny that you asked that. I always ask my mom all the time, like, if I didn't have cerebral palsy, would I be the same kind of person? Um, and yeah, I mean, I think the answer is no. It I think it's because not only having a disability in general, but the fact that it shapes so much of my life. Like, I'm sure there are people with disabilities who exist in the world, which it doesn't bother them very much. Or, like it's an invisible disability that you have bad days and good days. With mine, it is constant and forever and always. So because it shapes so much of my ability and my energy and things I'm able to do on a daily basis, it kind of like my mom says that my disability is my superpower. I'm a PhD student.
Mhm.
I'm a second year PhD student in English at the Ohio State, and I do a lot of work in afrofuturism and disability. And my mother was like, that wheelchair has been the key that has given you like a drive, and it has made me into an activist, and it gives me the energy to go out and tell people like, no, you're wrong. Let me explain to you the different ways that you're wrong. Blackness and disability do exist, and yes, disability is a raced concept, and let me explain why. And so
Ooh,
yeah, I think that if I didn't have it, my understandings of what race and disability would be and how they intersect would be completely different.
that's brilliant. Do you want to briefly share what the disability as a race concept entails?
Sure. So like I said,
Professor, teach
I,
me.
I
Teach me, Professor.
no, it's funny because I specifically am in the area of rhetoric, which is essentially the meaning behind words and like how people choose to say something, not necessarily what they say, which is linguistics. And so when looking at rhetoric, you're looking at the intentionality of what people say and like how they think about things. So I told my teacher that by the end of my program, what I would love to get at is to develop some kind of word that really encompasses what it means to be both Black and disabled at the same time. Because right now, all of the literature I've seen says multi-marginalized or double
Right.
deficit. which, okay, but I also think that that's not good enough. And they're very vague. Like double deficit is immediately negative. Multi-marginalized doesn't mean anything. So the word that I'm looking at, I would love to coin is afro-phantasmic, which
Mm,
basically is like phantasm, which is like a ghost, and
yeah.
which is blackness. And basically the idea that if you're a black disabled person, you're basically like, you're like, you exist, but like within the context of the black community, I argue that our blackness takes precedent over disability. And so it's like you're basically a ghost. Like they acknowledge that you're
Yeah.
black, but they don't acknowledge that you're disabled. And that basically shapes our understanding culturally of how we exist in our own community. So the example that I usually give is like a barbershop. I'm a black man I have dreads, short dreads on the top of my head, and
Mhm.
the rest of my head is shaved. But I have to get my hair twisted at a loctician. I have to go to a place, and it costs $60 every time they do it. And that's a cultural place that Black people go to get their hair done, because I can't get my hair done at a hair cuttery. That's not going
Right.
to work. And so I'm required to go to these cultural sites that are built for Black people in general, run by Black people, created by Black people, but yet 95% of the ones that I've been to are not accessible. They don't, and even when you get inside, none of them have been created with wheelchair users in mind. They don't even think about the fact that like blind people need to get their hair done. Like if you're Black, you need to come get your hair done. It doesn't matter what disability you have. So that's, to me, it's a perfect example of what I mean, because we are still required to go there as Black people, but the disability part is completely unacknowledged. And, it's not necessarily, I don't say that to be dismissive. I don't think that people are doing that maliciously. I
Right.
think it's a question of social economic impact, and the fact that, quite frankly, most places where Black hair cutteries are in lower economic areas where they don't have the infrastructure and the capital
Right.
to make a building as accessible as they would like it to be. So they
Right.
basically are just adapting to whatever they have, but that still makes it shitty
It does
for
make it shitty.
disabled people who need to get services and things done.
This reminds me of W.E.B. Du Bois and that double consciousness idea,
Mm-hmm.
but and like living in between worlds. My dog is scratching at the door. Um, and I'm wondering, because your question or your label that you're coining, which I'm excited whenever you put that out, it kind of points to like that it in your story too, that it's a gift. So is there creative adaptation in this idea that about being disabled that moves the phantasm around, or does it change the meaning? Because it seems like the intersection, that's what's so interesting about the intersection, is it's not a double jeopardy. It's not like bad, label. It's like a whole new thing. And yeah. So
It's
I'm
not meant to be.
wondering,
I don't. So that's literally the reason why it's not like double deficit.
yeah,
It isn't meant to be taken negatively at all. It is literally much like, yeah, Du Bois's concept of double consciousness. You are literally between the worlds. So
um,
you can use that, like case in point, I have, and this is I feel terrible saying this, but it's true. Like there are multiple times where it comes in handy. So it's like, I've been at Black concert venues where, I'm a wheelchair user, and they're like, oh, did you need to get in? And you're just like, yes, I do. And they're like, oh my God, please come to the front. Here, have this front row seat right in the corner. And I'm like, thank you. And
uh-huh.
me, that's a expert use of phantasm, being able to manipulate the ideas that people have about, well, if you're going to make this society so shitty that you block me out, then I'm going to rearrange the way in which you present it to me, so that way it can be useful. In my dissertational work, I'm actually, on top of doing the regular research that everybody has to do, I'm also building an audio novel that's going to be like 2.5 hours long, and it's about a Black wheelchair user who literally can become a ghost at will. And this is the whole concept. It's like basically
I
like
love it.
when he needs to, he can literally turn spectral, and it saves him from the police and from the cops and from all kinds of stuff being registered on
Hmm.
it's a far future thing. It's in like 2030, 2135. And so and I'm calling it in Neo Orleans, which is
I
old.
like it.
So I'm building this whole concept to just basically kind of expand on this idea. But I think that if people really came to embrace it, they would understand that no, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you are finding ways to weaponize who you are as a person.
Yeah. I mean, deaf scholars have talked about how there's disability gain. And I don't think that we explore enough how exploiting ableism is actually utilitarian, and it's the other side of being treated like
Absolutely.
crap. So,
Absolutely.
I'm like, one example, and then I'll get to the next question. But when I was very young, and I'm much older than you, uh, I went to see Metallica, and they sold out the day of the tickets being sold. I got tickets the day of because of the disability section. And did I get moved up? Yes, I did. Do I always used to get free drinks when I drank? Absolutely.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. I would give it up in a second to end ableism. But what are you going to do? Exploit people until you die. So, next question. So, what are some of the pleasures and joys that you get through hanging out with the disability communities, being in disability studies, having disabled friends, comrades?
I would say like one of the most interesting things is just the wealth of experiences that people have because like I have a friend who here at the university, he is autistic. He's a doctoral student and he's doing work that is like, whoa, like it's like, he's talking about narratives and the intersections of autistic time in movies. And so it was just like talking to him is like literally watching Inception.
I love
Like, it's just like
it. Mm.
wow, and like his perspectives on things are just so fascinating that it just really pushes you in a completely different direction. Through him I've learned about like neuroqueer theory and just like the idea of autism as a way of thinking as opposed to a disorder, which
Right,
of course how we are taught to decipher it. And so
right.
thinking about autism as a way of thinking, as a cognition, is like another superpower. Well, I mean, I hate to say superpower because people don't like to frame it in that mindset. But I just think like it's just a different way of thinking, which is fascinating. And if people can come to understand that we have different ways of approaching like problems and different solutions, like I think, oh my goodness, like can you imagine if like an autistic person created Facebook? Like holy shit, like it would be probably way less problematic than
I know. I was just thinking it wouldn't have stolen the election with
that's what
the
I was gonna
freaking
say. It
Russians.
would be way less problematic than what it is. So I definitely think that that's one of the
Ugh.
things is just learning about the different experiences and wealths of different kinds of ideologies that people have. I also think, quite frankly, disabled people are funny as fuck. Just because our lives are like, it depends on who you're talking to, of course. But like my friend Haben, like she's deaf blind and like, but she can talk, like she can hear you, but you have to be right up on her, and she can see you, but you have to be like right in her face, and she can't give you like details. But I learned that like Haben, a lot of people don't know. They see her, she just got on the Time 100 list, and what people don't know about Haben is that she is hilarious. Like if she could do stand up, like if she wanted to do it, she really should, because she is super snarky. And like the funny thing about it is that you would never know because she has completely different observations because her world is not visual. And so half the time if somebody is saying it, she'll just be like, that person's bravado, the amount of bass in that person's voice is really rumbly. Like it's like it's she's like, I'm vibrating. Why am I vibrating? Like I was just like, Hob, and they're just speaking, and she's like, I know. She's like, I just maybe they should go take a drink and stop. And like it's like it's so subtle that you like almost didn't catch it. You're just like, wait, was that shade? Like, and so I mean, but that's I love her for that. Like she's just, but I think that a lot of times people say you have to find the joy in misery. And I definitely think, I mean, Black people do that all the time. we've made an entire existence out of it. So, combining, that talent with disability, I think just makes us even more interesting. I was watching Crip Camp recently, and some person on the movie said, you can't be disabled and a wallflower. Which I thought it was an interesting concept, because if you are, then you've just given people another reason to overlook you. And so I was just like, I feel like that's what my parents were trying to teach me as a child. Like, if you want to go out there and do something, you have to be crazy as fuck. Like, it is the only way that you're going to do anything. Truly.
It's true. It's true. I often worry about the people who are not aggressive, zealous people like ourselves to push through life, because there's so many forces that are wanting to push us back, push us down. I spent a year in special ed, and I'm so grateful that I pushed myself out of that with my mom's help, because I can't imagine wasting my intellect. And so many people do, because they get swept away in these shitty systems. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but being within the disability community helps sharpen your skills in activism too, so that you know more ways to attack issues. Not that we're all vicious, we're sweet. Some of us, no, we're not. I'm not. But I love it. I love what you say. And did you enjoy? I guess we didn't do the disability dance this year because of Corona. You haven't done the SDS dance yet.
No.
Society for Disability Dance is kind of pinnacle disability happening. It's one of those things you gotta check off.
Okay. I did present there, and I enjoyed it.
Say it again?
I said, I did present there this year, though, and I really enjoyed it. I also
Great.
got a scholarship from them, which I'm very thankful for.
Money is, yes, we are not in a post-capitalist world just yet. I hear that. So speaking of the world that we're in, and this series is really about like thinking past the pandemic, thinking about the future. So what do you want to see in our disability justice future? What do you want?
I mean, what I, what I would truly love is if Black Lives Matter would start incorporating people with disabilities into their actual campaign platform. Because I feel like, it's, and I say this because with the caveat that, so I am thrilled that, trans people and, non-normative bodies are having a moment. God, it is overdue. Like, whoo, we are so overdue for this. And, I just love the fact, I was talking to my mom about the other day, and I was like, why are y'all so bent up about men wearing skirts? And my mom was just like, because that's just not appropriate. And I said, it is in Scotland. And she was like,
For that.
okay, well, she's like, but this is America. And I was like, yeah, but y'all love Jesus. He wore a robe. And she was like, well, I mean, and like, it was just like, I was like, so what you're telling me is that you just don't like seeing it. But the reality is, if I wanted to put on a skirt right now, I should have the full freedom and motion to do so. I feel like that even though we're in this moment of giving like, unisex and, genderless clothing, which yes, thank you, Jesus. But at the same time, I find it really difficult to see all of the conversation around non-normativity and disability is nowhere to be seen. It's so confusing to me. I'm like, how did we get past disability and move on to trans identity and like non-normative body types with clothing and miss that disabled people who actually still need clothes don't have things to wear? Like, why? I just know, because I just feel like when I'm wearing a suit, I destroy the suit jacket within 10 minutes of putting it on. The sleeves are always dirty because I have to roll. I can't move. Because otherwise I'm not going anywhere. And I saw the episode on Queer Eye where they were working with a paraplegic, and they had to get his whole closet retailored. I mean, they made him look amazing. They really did. But one of the things that Tan French did was took his suits to a tailor, and they redid all of his suits because he was trying to wear what a standing person would wear, and you really cannot do that.
Mm.
And it
Okay.
just not, town was like, I just had no conception of
No.
how differently clothes work when you're not standing. So it's like, wow, we're literally basing all our clothes on clothes are ableist. You could argue that literally clothes are ableist. They're designed for standing ass bodies,
Yep.
and a lot of people who just do not fit in that category. So it's like, what are you going to do for me when I don't want my
Yep.
pant legs to ride up like high water? Black folks call it high waters. They just walk up on you and say you drowning, and that'll be the only thing that you know. And they'll just walk away from you, and you'll be like, what? But I know what that means. It means I have high waters on, and it's just like,
Mhm.
it's just like, I don't want that to be me, but I don't have a choice because of the pants I have to wear. So, just things like that. I wish that, large scale movements would take disability into consideration as they're moving toward the next phase of the work that they're trying to do. Because I think it's important work. Lord knows we are, like I said, we're well overdue for all of these discussions. But I'm annoyed that it's like, disability folks are in the corner, just like, been disabled since the beginning of time. you know, been over here for several thousand years.
And disability has been around forever. And that's the natural part of life that we're gonna have. Like, it's just here. I mean, Zappos is finally selling singular shoes and different size shoes. So that's dope. That's an exciting move. But
Right.
yeah, and I think what you're saying is, like, one of the points that I'm excited about what you're saying is you're speaking to the idea that there are so many ripe coalitions to build. Like, why aren't trans and disabled people working together on bathrooms? We got similar issues. And also, let's not forget, oh, there are disabled trans people, just like there are disabled Black people. Like,
Right.
we keep forgetting to put people in these multiple places. Like, disabled people are somehow over in the corner. And I wish we had our own little delicious, accessible island where I would probably be too slutty and wonderful. I would have a great time.
I when I was watching Crip Camp, I kept thinking, I was a little bit sad that they didn't show anybody that was queer, outright anyway. And I was thinking, if I had gone to that camp, like, would I have been able to sleep with anybody?
Yes.
Because the main character was like, everybody would have been there to get a hookup. Like, everybody was in there trying to have sex with everybody, and they had that crab outbreak, and I was like, ooh. But at the same time, I literally was just like, okay, so what about those of us who are not interested in heteronormativity? Like, what about that? But I know that the reality is, of course, yeah, the answer would be sure, but it might be like, I don't know, three dudes in the corner somewhere. So
3 dudes is enough to make a party. I don't know what
there,
problems you're having.
there you go.
Well, thank you, my dear. It was lovely talking to you, and I may buy that lipstick just to be fabulous like you. You are wonderful, and I know we are all going to look forward to your work. Do you want to plug any projects or tell us where we can reach you?
Sure. I mean, I have a couple of things in the works. Most recently, I have a co-edited chapter that's coming out next year with Dr. Joy Banks of Howard University on cultural competence and Black disability in the classroom, which I'm really excited about. And I'm also working on a chapter, a cultural critique of Storm of the X-Men, to be out in a
colorism
textbook at some point. I mean, I may get into that because there's so many variations of Storm that, like, the colorism could be its own chapter, honestly. But I'm really just focusing on the fact that, quite frankly, Stan Lee and the creators of Marvel did disabled folks dirty by not literally saying the word disabled in relation to. And so that's my argument, because, like I said, my background's in rhetoric. So the tack that I'm taking is like, y'all are, by not saying the physical words, you just, like, I looked at Storm. I still look at Storm as one of the best, most amazing things that has ever been created as terms of a character. But, I feel shortchanged as a Black disabled person. And I'm like, y'all do realize that if she were a real person in today's world, she would be covered under the ADA, right? Like, y'all realize that, right? The only difference between Storm and a person with Down syndrome is that a person with Down syndrome don't shoot lightning bolts out their eyes. and y'all better be thankful, because if they did, there'd be a whole lot of deaf people. So the point is, yeah. So that's a chapter that I got. I have to turn it in by December, so it'll probably be out in the early spring next year. And if people want to find me, I am on Twitter at DRC Charington, but chair as in like an actual chair. I was trying to be
Nice.
clever. So
Very
it's
nice.
DRC
Okay.
Charington on Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook as well.
And Instagram? Are you a gram boy?
I have it, but I don't use it.
Oh, well. Okay. Well, it was fabulous. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me. It was great.